wanted a mission. And for my sins, they gave me one.
Mobile phones, I hate them. I just find them really irritating.
The horror. The horror.
Rehearsal, Mr. Merton.
Oh.
Room 101.
My name is Roy, and and for the most evil invention in the world contest, I invented a child molesting robot.
What?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'll speak up. It's a robot that is designed to molest children, and I call it Robo Chomo. You see, it's powered by solar rechargeable fuel cells, and it costs pennies to manufacture, and it can, theoretically, molest twice as many children as a human molester in, quite frankly, half the time. So, do I win the contest?
I heard about your off day. 13 pizzas, is this true?
The cheat day?
Yes.
I'm going to tell you something right now. Here's the thing. And I'm not an extreme guy, but I do get very disciplined and focused. Now, you take that discipline and focus and you apply it to a cheat day. Now, I'm going to say, I'll say that again. It's a cheat day, not a cheat meal.
A day.
A day. That includes, I'm going to break it down for you. It includes at least a dozen pancakes. And I took pictures of this. So a stack of pancakes, not 13 pizzas, but 4 pizzas.
Okay.
4 pizzas. Nobody gets the picture. 4 pizzas. 2 dozen brownies. And dominate everything.
You like literally turn into Man versus Food.
That was one of my favorite shows, by the way.
For that day.
Food. Yeah. Oh, and Man wins. Rock versus Food. I eat children. How old are you?
12.
Oh, okay. Only to 10.
Only
Okay, that's good.
We'll see.
Yeah.
That's good.
Children and pineapple. Children and pineapple. I eat children.
Why did you write Lolita? Why did I write Lolita? Why did I write any of my books, after all? For the sake of the pleasure, for the sake of the difficulty. See, I have no social purpose, no moral message. I'm not a messenger. I have no general ideas to exploit. I'm not a general. But I like composing riddles. I like finding elegant solutions to my riddles, to those riddles that I have composed myself.
As a writer, Vladimir Nabokov greatly enjoyed teasing his readers with anagrams, identity games, chess problems, and codes. To date, however, insufficient attention has been paid to his Lolita riddle. In this investigation, I show how the author's elegant solution discloses secret information about his own childhood. Contrary to what many people might think, Nabokov imbued his art with a covert child protection agenda that has yet to be recognized.
Vladimir Nabokov was born in St. Petersburg, Russia, in 1899. His father and mother were members of the upper-class elite. The family's principal residence was located at the Admiralty end of majestic Nevsky Prospect. During the summer, the family usually holidayed at their country estate, Vyra, located to the city's south. As a young boy, Vladimir was surrounded by all the trappings of a thoroughly pampered and privileged childhood. One person who lavished particular attention on Vladimir during his formative years was Uncle Ruka, the brother of his mother, Elena. The Bolshevik Revolution of 1917 brought an abrupt end to the opulent lifestyle of the Russian aristocracy. The family fled to the Crimea and then on to Europe. Vladimir completed an undergraduate degree at Cambridge University, England, in the early 1920s before settling in Berlin. Within Russian émigré circles, he quickly gained a reputation as a talented writer. He married Vera Slonim in 1925, and the couple's only child, Dmitri, was born in 1934. The rise of Nazi Germany once again forced Nabokov into exile. Accompanied by his wife and child, he moved to France before finally escaping across the Atlantic on the SS Champlain. Following his arrival in New York, he was employed by various universities as a researcher and lecturer. The move to America consolidated the author's decision to switch from Russian to the English language. Nabokov's famous novel Lolita was first published in a 2-volume set by the Olympia Press of Paris in 1955. The novel's main character is a mentally unstable, middle-aged pedophile named Humbert Humbert. Humbert marries suburban housewife Charlotte Hayes to gain access to her 12-year-old daughter, Lolita. Throughout his sexual enslavement of Lolita, Humbert constantly fears his shadowy rival Quilty, otherwise known as Q, will usurp him. Back in the 1950s, the novel's focus on the incestuous abuse of a young girl stirred up enormous moral controversy. Lolita was banned for a short period of time in the UK, Belgium, France and Australia. The heated debate that ensued in the UK Parliament temporarily sidelined the Suez Canal crisis of 1956. The immediate uproar and protests were eventually waylaid, however, by a backlash against censorship. The humorous narrative Nabokov afforded Humbert has since disarmed many readers. From its opening, mesmerizing lines, we remain spellbound by the author's evocative prose.
Lolita, light of my life, fire of my loins, my sin, my soul, Lolita, the tip of the tongue taking a trip of 3 steps down the palate to tap it free on the teeth, Lolita.
Despite lingering unanswered questions concerning the author's motivations for writing Lolita, the novel has now sold in excess of 50 million copies worldwide. Lolita firmly established Vladimir Nabokov as a leading author of the 20th century. Any fleeting analysis soon reveals Nabokov's long preoccupation with adult child sex. Adult males with an unhealthy interest in young girls appear in many of his novels, including Laughter in the Dark, Invitation to a Beheading, The Gift, The Enchanter, Ben Sinister, Lolita, and Look at the Harlequins.
Okay, I've got a really good horror story, and it's particularly terrifying because it's true.
Ooh, a true story.
In countries all over the world, including our own, children, many of them just like you, are abducted and sold into the world of underground sex trafficking.
Oh, okay. I'm going to stop you there, Danny boy. That is a scary story.
Nabokov personally regarded pedophilia as the commonest thing. As literary critic Christopher Hitchens observed in his recent tribute to Lolita, it is clear Nabokov thought a great deal about adult men having sex with children. To date, critical appraisal of Nabokov's prose has largely been conducted through conventional literary lenses. New insights into the author's work can be gleaned, however, by approaching his writings from a more scientific angle. Nabokov was a highly respected scientist as well as a writer. He made many significant contributions to the study of butterflies and moths, or Lepidoptera.
You're an expert in butterflies.
I am to a certain extent.
During a 1958 interview, Nabokov confirmed he read many psychological case studies as part of his background research for Lolita.
But you must have read in a newspaper or been aware of this strange sexual symbolism or this oddity in a minority of humans which has shocked so many people about Lolita.
I have read a considerable number of case histories. I would say that I became quite an expert in those matters. I have not.
The pioneering work of the 19th century sexologists Richard von Krafft-Ebing and Havelock Ellis exerted a significant influence on Nabokov. Krafft-Ebing's major text, Psychopathia Sexualis, is widely credited with introducing the term pedophilia erotica into the modern taxonomy. Krafft-Ebing regarded pedophiles as non-virile, silly, weak, and mentally unstable men. Nabokov's portrait of Humbert as a fragile, European-style dandy reflects his broad agreement on the effeminate demeanour and unbalanced mind of the child molester. Nabokov regarded Havelock Ellis as his favourite sexologist. Humbert's confessional first-person narrative in Lolita was heavily influenced by the case study of the anonymous Russian pedophile Victor X, published in 1926. In his work on sexual inversion, Ellis described boy marriage by capture arrangements prevailing in countries such as Albania, Greece and Persia. Ellis also recognised the once common sexual abuse of boys in Turkish bathhouses and noted how some boys, trapped in pedophilic relationships, wore makeup and dressed and behaved like girls. Although influenced by Krafft-Ebing and Ellis, Nabokov's literature offers more profound insights into pedophilia. For one thing, he recognised the intensity of the predator's aesthetic and erotic preference for children's physically immature bodies. While undertaking research for Lolita, he compiled statistics on the average age, height and weight of young American girls. Humbert duly informs the reader his nymphette stands 4 foot 9 inches tall and weighs only 78 pounds. When he books in at the Enchanted Hunters Hotel, Humbert indicates Lolita is only 10 years old, not 12. Unfortunately, Lolita's prepubescent status has been obscured by the 2 film adaptations. Both Sue Lyon and Dominique Swain are considerably older, taller and heavier than Humbert's nymphette. Although Stanley Kubrick hired Nabokov as a scriptwriter and film consultant, he ignored the author's suggestion that a dwarf play the role of Lolita. Nabokov's literary profile of the pedophile has won high praise from trained professionals. Psychologist James Hawley lauded Nabokov for offering fascinating insights into the thoughts, feelings and actions of a child molester. Nabokov frequently sought to expose the child predator's deeply disturbed reality. His deviant characters experience a range of distorted cognitions, including verbal, hearing and vision problems, as well as empathy deficits. Only recently have human science researchers begun to regard such characteristics as defining hallmarks of pedophilia.
Falling is Babylon the Great. The nations in famine are plagued by adulterous ways.
Within The Enchanter, Arthur climbs into bed beside 12-year-old Maria and sees her through cut glass. He is unable to find the focal point of happiness. Humbert too must make a focal adjustment in order to detect his elusive nymphette. While stalking Lolita, he sees her through prismatic layers of light and leers at her taut little rear through the wrong end of the telescope. Later on, Humbert confuses his rival Quilty's envious question, "Where the devil did you get her?" for "The weather is getting better." Speech difficulties constantly afflict Humbert as he lisps like a snake, "Yes, I try," and asks Lolita, "What's the matter with missus?" instead of "What's the matter with kisses?" His detached observation of Lolita's sobs in the night, "Every night the moment I feign sleep," reflect Humbert's tragic inability to empathize with his young victim. Modern research confirms pedophiles tend to blame children, insisting they were seduced by their victims.
Nick Elliott was looking for a nice, quiet place to write. He thought he found it with the Forrester family. Then he met Darian.
How much are they paying you to watch me?
Just running the guest house.
From the moment she met Nick,
You don't know how hard it is for me to make friends. It's like everybody thinks I'm some kind of freak or something.
I'll be your friend.
she was crazy about him.
Darian's a very special girl.
Nicholas, darling!
Oh, hi, Darian. It's my friend Amy.
Hi.
My landlord's kid, Mary.
She's got a crush on you.
What, are you saying I did something to provoke this?
Well, did you?
At first, he was flattered.
If you were 10 years older...
You'd what?
You have to be the adult. You can't blur the line.
Wait a minute. I really like you, Darian.
I really like you too.
No, I mean, as a friend. That's a big difference.
Nick! Nick, pick up the phone. Nick!
Darian! What are you doing?
Making lemonade.
Now,
Want some?
he's frightened.
Miss me?
Because if Darian can't have him,
Darian, go play.
no one can.
I love you, Nick, and you love me!
You animal! Stop it! Stop it! I mean, she's crazy. She's the one you ought to look up.
The crush.
Via his novels, Nabokov drew attention to the modus operandi of pedophiles. His plotlines describe the child predators' stalking behaviors as well as their tendency to target single mothers with children. Humbert and Arthur both pursue widows with young daughters. Nabokov highlighted the pedophile's secret pursuit of voyeuristic pleasures. Humbert secretly masturbates while spying on an infect. Nabokov was also keenly aware of how some pedophiles resort to drugging victims to advance their objectives. Arthur contemplates sedating his wife so that he can molest 12-year-old Maria. Humbert experiments with different strength tranquilizers, dropping them into Charlotte's nightcap so that he might have his way with Lolita. At the enchanted Hunter's Hotel, Humbert tricks Lolita into swallowing a purple pill and is bitterly disappointed to find her fully awake when he joins her in bed. In The Enchanter and Lolita, Nabokov exposes how pedophiles pamper and seduce children in order to gain their cooperation. Arthur bribes Maria and her mother with glazed chestnuts. Humbert sends Lolita chocolates while she's away at summer camp. Both men ponder how best to initiate their child victims into sexualized activities. Arthur knows he must not make too precipitous an attempt on Maria's virginity in the tightest and pinkest sense of the term. As part of his sexual foreplay, Humbert licks Lolita's eyeball, strokes her shins, and engages in an act of frotterism with her on the Davenport. Nabokov was also well aware of the pedophile's aesthetic taste for child pornography. After Lolita proves to be too precocious, Humbert eventually discovers she was recruited into a child pornography ring by Quilty back at summer camp. Quilty later tries to appease Humbert by offering to show him his erotica collection. Popular culture's long affair with seductive Lolita consistently ignores the hidden sexual training she was subjected to in the sordid underworld ruled by the child pornographer. Nabokov's literature also opens doors to the pedophile community's long reliance on codes. In life as well as art, pedophiles have often been likened to spiders that drug and cocoon their prey before sucking them dry. In Australian prison slang, pedophiles are known as rock spiders. The arachnid theme may owe a debt to the Mother Goose tale Little Miss Muffet. Nabokov made deft use of the spider pedophile metaphor within his writings. In Invitation to Beheading, a spider inhabits Cincinnatus's prison cell as young Emmy dances around, begging him to marry her. Within The Enchanter, Arthur is compared to a spider as he stalks children in the park. He imagines embracing Maria with 8 hands, which turned into 8 tentacles affixed to every detail of her nudity. The spider pedophile analogy is reinforced in Lolita, where Humbert morphs into a spider spinning and plucking at his web as he lies in wait for his hapless nymphette.
Steven Spielberg is a pedophile. Tom Hanks, folks, is a pedophile. There's this girl, Sarah Ruth Ashcraft, on Twitter, who has been accusing Tom Hanks of raping her when she was 13. Her dad sold her to Tom Hanks. She's been accusing him for months and months and months and months and months. He's never addressed it. Her dad, I think I saw a picture with her dad and Obama that she posted today. Dan Schneider is, of course, a pedophile. Stephen Colbert is a pedophile. Stephen Colbert and John Podesta are best buddies. Yeah, Macaulay Culkin and Seth Green are friends. To be honest, I had some fun times with those guys. For being satanic pedophiles, like Seth is a pretty cool dude. Is Oprah a pedophile? Well, let's see. Hanks, Weinstein, I mean, the company she keeps, as rich as she is, I have a feeling she is very high up in the cult. And this, make no mistake, this is a cult. There is a widespread cult that is worldwide.
I'm a man who sees life in terms of missions, missions defined, and missions completed. I will not allow this country to be made weak again. I will keep America moving forward, always forward, for an endless, enduring dream and 1,000 points of light.
To us, his was the brightest of 1,000 points of light.
And by the way, you know, all the rhetoric you see here, the 1,000 points of light. What the hell was that, by the way? 1,000 points of light. What did that mean? Does anyone know? I know one thing. Make America great again, we understand. Putting America first, we understand. 1,000 points of light. I never quite got that one. Try to say, what the hell is that? Has anyone ever figured that one out?
Back in 1996, but here goes. Quote, Brussels satanic sects involved in bizarre rites, including human sacrifice, are being linked by Belgian police with this summer's string of grisly pedophile murders in which at least 4 children died. 5 witnesses came forward last week and described how black masses were held and which children were killed in front of audiences were said to have included prominent members of Belgian society.
Many of these witnesses described hunting parties where children were allowed to run in the forest and then hunted down like animals. These adrenaline-pumping events are said to be a favorite of the psychopathic elite. Abuse survivors Kathy O'Brien, Fiona Barnett, and Paul Benassi all have described similar hunting parties, known to the elite as the most dangerous game.
It was early evening when they played Most Dangerous Game. I was stripped of my clothing. I was allowed to wear tennis shoes and told that I could have a head start and begin running before I would be hunted down. My exposure to it resulted in my believing I had no place to run and no place to hide. It seemed there were no limits to what could happen in my existence at that time. It was the most extreme, one of the most extreme situations I think I ever survived.
One investigator remarked that it was like something out of the Middle Ages. Dutroux was heavily connected to the satanic underworld. One cult we know he provided children for is called Abraxas. Abraxas is an openly satanic group which names itself after a pot-bellied demon called Abraxas. In 1996, police discovered a note to Dutroux from a mysterious person calling themselves Anubis. The note informed Dutroux that a special ceremony was coming up and instructed him to provide quote-unquote presents for the high priestess of the Abraxas order, and even gave specific details as to the age and sex the presents should be. No doubt some of these children Dutroux kidnapped were delivered to the Mothers of Darkness Castle, where researchers have reported that child sacrifices take place nearly every day.
And I gave the location. Eyewitnesses who had been in rituals in the castle where children were sacrificed, and the blood of these children is drained, and quill pens are filled up, and the blood is used to write an account of what the Illuminati have done that day and bring about the plan.
Ultimately, Dutroux was jailed, but his high-profile clients got off scot-free. A curtain of secrecy descended over the entire case, and the investigation was stopped from going any further before the rest of the ring could be exposed.
Dutroux, qui était le prédateur isolé, entre guillemets, d'accord, qui faisait bouc émissaire pour protéger tout l'immense réseau belge qui implique en premier lieu les deux rois belges qui se sont succédés.
It is no accident that this den of Satanism is located in Belgium. The small, picturesque nation on the border of France has been named by alternative researchers as an Illuminati capital and headquarters of the New World Order. It is home to the European Union and NATO, making it a central hub for high-level Luciferian rituals. International financiers, politicians, and businessmen come to Belgium for business and make a stopover at the Chateau Amaroi, or one of the region's many other satanic estates, to participate in the sacrifices and blood rituals required of an Illuminatus. Remember the Dutch banker Ronald Bernard, who claimed the top world leaders and financiers are forced to take part in satanic activities, and he himself was asked to attend a child sacrifice.
It was the good life. But then at some point, I was invited, which is why I'm telling you all this, to participate in sacrifices abroad. That was the breaking point. Children.
You were asked to do that?
Yes. And I couldn't do that. The purpose of the whole thing, eventually, in that world, is that they have everybody in their pocket. You need to be susceptible to blackmail. And blackmailing me proved to be very hard if I look back on it.
At the '88 Republican National Convention, GOP loyalists cheered as George H.W. Bush took the stage to accept the party's presidential nomination. It was the first time America would hear a strange, mystical phrase that would become synonymous with President Bush: 1,000 points of light.
I've spoken of 1,000 points of light. Enduring dream and 1,000 points of light.
Despite no one knowing what it meant, he went on to say it again at his inaugural address. Once again, few in the audience, except for members of the Illuminati, knew the significance of that bizarre phrase, or the location to which it secretly referred. Inside Mothers of Darkness Castle is a special room used as the place of ceremony for the highest orders of the satanic hierarchy. Inside the ornate room are balconies and a magnificent dome containing 1,000 lights.
Jimmy Savile raped and murdered hundreds of kids over the course of 3 decades or longer. No one ever looked into it. And he hung out with the royal family. He was knighted. He was knighted.
May it please your majesty, we, the representatives of over 200,000 Freemasons under the United Grand Lodge of England, most respectfully express our continuing loyalty to your majesty's throne and person in this, the 66th year of your long and distinguished reign, of His Royal Highness the Duke of Kent, as our much loved and greatly respected Grand Master. We humbly thank God for preserving our order and fervently pray His blessings on your majesty, so that our loyal devotion to your majesty may long continue. Given at the Royal Albert Hall this 31st day of October, Anno Domini 2017. Her Majesty has been pleased to reply in the following terms. The Queen has asked me to thank you for your kind letter of loyal greetings on behalf of the representatives of the Freemasons under the United Grand Lodge of England, which are being celebrated on the 31st of October at the Royal Albert Hall.
The Masonic CHIP program uses modern police-approved techniques to create a child identification kit.
And we take fingerprints. We also provide them with a swab for getting a DNA swab. And we also provide them with imprint where they can get an imprint of the child's teeth. So not only does it provide DNA as well as a swab, but it is also a source if you were using tracking dogs to provide a scent for the child.
You may be surprised to see who we found using tricks to cover up their license plates.
Apparently, they're law enforcement.
You know, in Hollywood and in the industry and the stuff we do, there's a lot of like insider secrets to keeping your career going, and a lot of insider secrets to making things tick.
The pedophilic underworld has made a habit of appropriating themes from Lewis Carroll's Alice in Wonderland tales. In 1998, police cracked the sophisticated KGB encryption code used by the Wonderland Club, which traded thousands of child porn images over the internet.
Wonderland became an obsession, a virtual community that brought pedophiles together.
A recent FBI report found some members of the pedophile community now favor wearing jewelry featuring triangles within triangles and hearts within hearts. Nabokov's memoirs suggest an older pedophilic code that equates a child with a green leaf may have brought an abrupt end to his own idyllic childhood. A scientifically orientated analysis suggests that in writing Lolita, Nabokov attempted to share much-needed information about child molesters with the general public. His literary preoccupation with incest and pedophilia is nothing short of remarkable. Is it possible Nabokov had deeply personal, albeit secret, reasons for pursuing this troubling subject matter? Nabokov's multi-layered interrogation of the pedophile secret underworld extended to the movies. Anticipating queries raised by more recent critics such as Marion Sinclair, the author detected unsavory currents beneath Hollywood's glittering surface. With Lolita, he took special delight in mocking suspect scenes found in Shirley Temple films. The iconic child star, Shirley Temple, was born on April 23, 1928. For 4 years during the Great Depression, this talented little girl remained America's #1 box office attraction. Shirley began her long film career at age 3, when she starred in an all-child cast Baby Burlesque series, produced and directed by Jack Hayes and Charles Lamont. Lamont is widely credited with being Shirley's discoverer. During the 1930s, the Baby Burlesque short film screened regularly before the main feature. Commonly interpreted as innocent, fun-filled spoofs on leading actresses of the stage and cinema, the Baby Burlesque films are in fact replete with disturbing slapstick jokes and sly innuendos. As the leading lady, Shirley Temple frequently played a prostitute or nightclub performer. In Glad Rags to Riches, she was La Belle Diaperina, a dancer at the Lullaby Lobster Palace. Her beau, Elmer, fails to impress when he chomps down hard on an enormous pickle. In War Babies, Pipsqueak Shirley played the diaper-clad harlot Gloria. The toddler soldiers, hanging around Pete's Buttermilk Cafe, compete for her attention by presenting her with enormous lollipops. Titillating side entertainment is provided by the tap-dancing African-American boy who performs a slow striptease down to his underwear. Down on all fours, another toddler sits open-mouthed beneath an overturned baby bottle. A large sign in the background states, "Sour milk." When things go awry, Gloria comes to the rescue by pulling a rubber glove from her purse and attaching it to a keg of sweet milk. As the youngster suckles away, a man can be heard moaning rather than mooing on the accompanying soundtrack. Shirley's prostitute status is ultimately confirmed when a patron triumphantly picks his teeth with a bobby pin that held up her diaper. Shirley again played a call girl in Politics in Washington. Hired by the nipple and anti-castor oil lobby, she sets out to corrupt a new bumpkin senator. When Senator Clodbuster succumbs to her wily charms, Polly confirms her sex for hire status by stating,
I'm expensive.
Clodbuster's fall from grace sees him go down on a giant cake, bizarrely spewing white icing behind him like a lawnmower. In the last Baby Burlesque film, Kid in Africa, Shirley played the cannibal civilizing Christian missionary Madame Cradlebait. Attired in hot pants and a white safari hat, the pistol-wielding madam journeys through the jungle accompanied by an obedient troop of African coolies. During a raid, she is captured and stuck in a cliché cooking pot. After seasoning her with salt, the cannibal chief asks the telephone operator to connect him to extension 342. After Madame Cradlebait is rescued by a miniature Tarzan, the action abruptly shifts to an eerie post-honeymoon scene outside the Squaldorf Hotel. An African child carrying a Weary Nipple Cafe Specials billboard tanks up at the Last Chance filling station by sucking on the end of a gas pump. The mouthfuls he swallows are conveniently monitored on the gulp meter standing nearby. In case you missed it, here's a longer close-up of the pump's nozzle. Nabokov directly linked Kid in Africa's subliminal pedophile code to Lolita via a strategy of reiterated themes and numerology. At the Enchanted Hunters Hotel, Humbert and his nymphette bunked down in room 342. Throughout the night, Humbert's sleep is disturbed by the sound of a flushing toilet, a tainted reminder of the ever-popular honeymoon trip to the Niagara Falls. After Lolita escapes with Quilty, Humbert searches 342 hotels and motels in a vain attempt to track down his elusive nymphette. Nabokov also parodied Charles Lamont's 1934 short film Managed Money. Stowaway Shirley sets off with her teenage brother Sonny through a cactus-infested Californian desert. En route, they are bewitched by a luxurious mansion that turns out to be a Fata Morgana, or optical illusion. When they stop to prospect for gold, Shirley backs into a prickly pear. A man suddenly pops out from behind a saguaro and starts laughing. In Lolita's lampooning retake, Humbert dreams of spinning on to California, to the Mexican border, to mythical bays, saguaro deserts, Fata Morganas. Shirley may have left her career as a child prostitute behind after she was signed up by 20th Century Fox in 1934, but the suspicious scenes did not disappear altogether. Cast as an orphan, motherless child or runaway, the plot lines of Shirley's feature films now revolved around children's institutions and custody battles. Some guardians displayed an odd talent for meeting untimely ends. In Bright Eyes, Shirley's mother is run over by a speeding vehicle as she crosses the road to catch a bus. Her stern governess meets an equally grisly end in Poor Little Rich Girl. The coincidental car accident theme was ridiculed in Lolita when Charlotte Hayes is run over on the way to posting a letter that would expose Humbert's perverse interest in her daughter. In Bright Eyes, Shirley dances coquettishly down the aisle under the too appreciative gaze of her aviator pals. Brandishing huge lollipops, the all-male crew proceed to maul Shirley. They pick her up, shove a box of Cracker Jacks under one arm, and press her face into an oversized cake that leaves traces of white icing around her mouth. In a mocking reenactment, Humbert complains of catching little Limp Low dripping a look in the direction of a friendly mechanic and bursting into a perfect love song of wisecracks as soon as he turns his back to buy a lollipop. Shirley often comforts her male co-stars in a too adult fashion. Sometimes she fiddles flirtatiously with their ties. Shades of incest creep into Poor Little Rich Girl, as Shirley lies cradled in her father's arms, stroking his face and singing. Incest seems a safer option than being stalked by a creepy child predator who tries to lure her with peppermint candy. In Rebecca's Sunnybrook Farm, Shirley loses her voice and is examined by a doctor behind a locked door without an accompanying adult. Depraved choreography is seen in Captain January, where Shirley has a close encounter with her dancing co-star, Buddy Ebsen. The gratuitous slapstick gags continued. Some of Shirley's studio portraits also present her in a distinctly inappropriate manner. Further signs of a covert pedophilic agenda are discernible in Curly Top, where millionaire benefactor Edward Morgan is utterly bewitched by his orphan ward. Crooning is also new to me. He eagerly anticipates the new thrills on offer in my Wonderland. Morgan dreams of an utterly naked cherubic Shirley gilded in gold paint. Although this scene was either cut or censored, in her autobiography, Shirley recalled fearing death by toxic asphyxiation as she plunged a mythical dart into Morgan's heart. Morgan's hallucinations continue as all the paintings in his study are suddenly haunted by Shirley's image. In Lolita, the piano scene is comically revisited when Quilty stops to sing a few hysterical sonorities accompanied by soundtrack snorts as Humbert chases him around Pavor Mansion. Why, we may ask, is Shirley's dress shorter at the back than the front as she pirouettes on top of the grand piano? And what exactly was the purpose of the scene where Shirley creeps into Morgan's bedroom, then jiggles up and down on his stomach? At least Denmark had the sense to ban Curly Top for unspecified corruption upon its release. Curly Top makes use of the telltale spider code. This theme emerges after Morgan buys a hula dress and ukulele for his tiny ward, and we see Shirley dancing in a grass skirt. A short while later, Shirley is lying on the beach reading a comic strip. The camera zooms in on a cartoon where a man yells, "There's a big spider in your skirt," to a woman in a hula dress. A voyeuristic close-up of Shirley's buttocks ensues as she rocks back and forth on a seahorse in a swimsuit that is conveniently too small for her. Nabokov parodied this scene by having Lolita swipe the comics from Humbert before flopping down on her belly to read on the piazza. This time it is Humbert who rocks back and forth, as the girl's smell at once set my manhood astir. Despite her enormous popularity, Shirley Temple did have some critics in the 1930s. American film critic Gilbert Seldes compared Shirley to Mae West, the reigning sex goddess, and recommended her directors face a firing squad at daybreak. Seldes thought Shirley's dimpled cuteness had very little to do with her real power, because at her good moments, something like a growl of satisfaction arises from the men in the audience. Across the Atlantic, British writer Graham Greene similarly argued that Shirley attracted male audiences for all the wrong reasons. In his review of Captain January, Greene queried the director's motivations, asserting the camera was being used in a salacious manner to provoke disreputable enjoyment. In his 1937 review of Wee Willie Winkie, published by Night and Day magazine, Greene again went on the attack, insisting, "Infancy with her is a disguise. Her appeal is more secret and more adult. Her neat and well-developed rump twisted in the tap dance, her eyes had a sidelong searching coquetry." This time, 20th Century Fox retaliated, winning substantial damages from Greene for implying it had procured Miss Temple for immoral purposes. Nearly 2 decades later, Graham Greene was an early reader and fan of Lolita. He must have appreciated the novel's little recognized critique of the Hollywood Shirley Temple industry. In his review, Greene praised Lolita as one of the best books published in 1955. His comments sparked a heated debate over morality in censorship that eventually culminated in Lolita hitting #1 on the bestsellers list in the UK and America. Shirley Temple's legacy lingers on in her movies, books, dolls, figurines, and other collectibles. Questions about the motivations of her Hollywood directors are rarely raised. Nabokov very aptly summed up these anxieties when he had Humbert parade past Lolita in my adult disguise, a great big handsome hunk of movieland manhood. Nabokov's critique of pedophilia included throwing several barbed comments in the direction of the famous Victorian writer, the Reverend Charles Lutwidge Dodson, better known to many as Lewis Carroll. Dodson is the author of 2 famous children's tales, Alice's Adventures in Wonderland and Through the Looking Glass. The 2 stories were inspired by Dodson's ideal child friend, Alice Liddell. Dodson first met Alice when she was only 4 years old. Nabokov developed an interest in Charles Dodson while studying at Cambridge. By the early 1920s, he had already completed a Russian translation of Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. Although Nabokov esteemed Dodson the writer, he held deep reservations about Dodson, the historic person. During a 1966 interview, he acidly remarked, "I always call him Lewis Carroll Carroll, because he was the first Humbert Humbert." Nabokov's disparaging reference to Dodson's wretched perversion strongly suggests he regarded this eminent Victorian as a pedophile. Photography became a popular new hobby during the Victorian era. Charles Dodson proved to be a very gifted amateur. Alice and the Little Children were an early focus of Dodson's output. In 1858, Dodson took an especially remarkable photograph of 6-year-old Alice dressed up as a beggar maid. He posed Alice in a tattered urchin garment with both straps pushed down, leaving her shoulders exposed. The portrait is rather too mature and provocative for such a little girl. Nude studies of children were very popular in Victorian society. Semi-naked children, typically girls, happily adorned family albums, postcards and greeting cards, dressed up as cherubs, angels, elves and fairy queens. Charles Dodson began photographing nude children during the 1860s, setting them against a variety of painted landscapes. In a letter, Dodson indicated his strong preference for girls' physiques.
I confess, I do not admire naked boys in pictures. They always seem to me to need clothes, whereas one hardly sees why the lovely forms of girls should ever be covered up.
Further suspicions about Dodson's aesthetic tastes are raised by his overly alluring and seductive portrait of 7-year-old Beatrice Hatch. After unwelcome rumours began circulating about his hobby in 1881, Dodson destroyed the glass plates of his child nude studies by wiping them clean. In accordance with his final wishes, the executor of Dodson's estate burnt the surviving nude prints following his death. Lolita bears witness to Nabokov's jaundiced opinion of the Reverend's subterranean worlds. A breeze from Wonderland affects Humbert's sensibilities as he leers at his nymphette at the Enchanted Hunters Hotel. Humbert's eye is mockingly compared to an alert periscope as he spies upon a half-naked nymphette, stilled in the act of combing her Alice in Wonderland hair. Nabokov expressed great disdain for Dodson's nude child studies, accusing him of getting away with pederasty and nympholepsy, like so many other Victorians. He strenuously denounced the real-life farces of a world that had condemned Oscar Wilde for flaunting a flamboyant perversion and getting caught, while Dodson had hidden his humble but much more evil little secret behind the emulsions of the developing room. Nabokov's under-evaluated critique of Carroll's fantasy fiction extended to chess. A chess game features as the frontispiece to Carroll's second Alice tale, Through the Looking Glass. Within that story, movements made by various characters, including Pawn Alice, the Red Queen and the White Knight, correspond to movements made on the board. Charles Dodson is commonly thought to be represented by the White Knight in the game. The plot line in Through the Looking Glass reaches a climax when Alice is crowned after reaching the end of the board. In solving Nabokov's Lolita riddle, Joanne Morgan has argued that Nabokov shadowed and parodied Through the Looking Glass at length within Ben Sinister. Metaphors involving passive pawns, cooked chess problems, rooks and kings abound within Ben Sinister. Adam Krug, the central character, is likened to a chess master. As the plot unfolds, an 8-year-old David is mistakenly admitted to an institute for abnormal children and sexually tormented by big boys. Like Through the Looking Glass, the novel reaches a crescendo when David is crowned, this time with a Turkish-style turban. Inspired by Lewis Carroll, Nabokov underpinned Ben Sinister with a chess strategy uniquely his own. Although he was a lifelong devotee of chess, Nabokov's real expertise lay in devising chess problems. Chess problems typically challenge expert solvers to checkmate the opposition in 2 or 3 moves. Via his Ben Sinister chess problem, Nabokov ingeniously engaged Lewis Carroll in a symbolic chess duel. In a letter sent to New Yorker editor Catherine White, Nabokov noted how the first edition of Alice in the Looking Glass carries a very subtle and difficult chess problem. He expressed hope New Yorker readers would find his own chess game less bewildering. Within Carroll's Looking Glass chess game, the opening move is made by the masculine-looking Red Queen, who scampers away from Alice on a ladder-like trajectory ascending left to right. Within heraldry, such a diagonal is known as a bend sinister. Dodson's intense attachment to Alice has led some critics to interpret this trajectory, a la Freud, in sexual terms. One psychoanalyst boldly insisted the Red Queen somehow personified uncontrolled animal passions. Rather more cagily, in The White Knight, Scottish critic Alexander Taylor concluded Carroll was not interested in the game as a game, but in the implications of the moves. Discernible patterns in Nabokov's writings suggest he too regarded the Red Queen's opening move, along with Alice's coronation scene, as implied threats to children's safety. As a stylist, Nabokov displayed a singular talent for building interactive patterns between his novels, memoirs and chess problems. Nabokov discussed his Ben Sinister chess problem at some length in his memoirs. There he strongly hinted the problem contained an encoded message. The bishop, he explained, was a metaphor for a searchlight, whereas the knight was likened to an adjustable lever, a tool typically used to pry things open. The prospect of deciphering Nabokov's unorthodox code was guaranteed by the author's assurance that the normally censoring controller had finally allowed vital pieces of information to escape, so that the hidden meaning of his chess symbols might be divulged.
To unlock Nabokov's anti-Wonderland chess code, we need to assume the pawn represents a child, the knight a child predator, and the bishop a protective guardian or parent. We must also take heed of Nabokov's suspicions regarding the Red Queen's opening move and Alice's coronation.
In Nabokov's Ben Sinister chess problem, two pawns face imminent danger of being queened. The white pawn is one square away, whereas the black pawn is 2 squares from its coronation. Should the black pawn advance to the end of the board, it is in danger of being molested by the black knight. The clever solution to Nabokov's problem relies on white avoiding the temptation of queening the pawn. Instead, it must propel the searchlight bishop into action. By impeding the black pawn's advance, the bishop ensures the incestuous rendezvous with the knight can never take place. Regardless of what black does next, white achieves checkmate on the next move. The subtle child protection agenda advanced by Nabokov's anti-Wonderland strategy is reinforced by the bishop's protective move, which reverses the Red Queen's ichthyphallic trajectory, affecting a form of symbolic castration. The commentary Nabokov provides within Speak Memory about his Ben Sinister chess problem lends weight to Morgan's decoding analysis. There we find Nabokov admitting his chess strategy involved an unusual line of defense, which might provide a glimpse of the actual configuration of men. The gender challenge raised by Nabokov's spectacular defense is further reinforced by the author's arcane, alchemical expectation that his efforts would somehow hasten the wedding of a new couple via sacred fire. Centuries ago, the alchemists sought to forge an everlasting union between mind and body and male and female essences within their ancient laboratories. In the closing discussion devoted to his chess strategy, Nabokov mysteriously anticipated that this exalted marital state would one day compensate him for the misery of the deceit.
I think you'll agree in that 9/11/2001 was one of the most Hollywood-esque, larger-than-life events that played out on all of our TV screens across the whole world. It's something that we'll never forget. I think most of us can even remember where we were when we found out about what happened and what was going on. I'm sure it doesn't surprise most that are in the truth-seeking community in this time that 9/11 was a satanic ritual. Coming to that conclusion from many different angles, from many different ways, all leading to the same truth, that it was in fact representing the birthing of the new age of Antichrist, the ripping the veil, the bringing in of the beast police state system, and all manner of things, but also a blood sacrifice ritual into the wine press, Samson pushing down the 2 pillars. But this all correlates to what we've been looking into in the last video, what we've been looking into in regards to the cube behind the veil. It all links in together, And in this video we're going to have a look again through Solomon's temple, Herod's temple, how this all correlates to Jesus Christ when he died and rose again, and the veil was ripped in that temple to reveal the cornerstone that was behind the veil. And this all links together with 9/11 and many different things. So let's have a look at this. So 9/11 2001 IXXI, many believe, or some believe, that Jesus himself was born on 9/11 3 BC, which is pretty interesting because 9/11 2001 is an inversion of that 9/11 2001 3 AD. But this event, this horrific event that happened on 9/11 2001, we've discussed this before in terms of the two pillars, like Samson pushing down the two pillars, north and south, plus and minus, just like the pillars in Freemasonry, Yashin and Boaz, plus and minus. So the male and female, the parents, and just like that Samson figure pushing it down in the Bible. And then you've got the child here, which in terms of what we're looking at the moment, as I say, there's many different ways of understanding the nature of this satanic ritual, because there's many different paths and roads that lead to the same conclusion. But the World Trade Center 7 representing that cornerstone. Now remember, Jesus Christ is our true cornerstone, and this all involves inverting. It's to do with the Antichrist. They're trying to bring in, they're trying to open the pit, they're trying to bring in the Antichrist and the age of the Antichrist. So that involves smashing this cornerstone as per usual, smashing this stone. This is exactly what we're looking at when we look at that. We're looking at the figure pushing down the two pillars and the veil breaking, just like when Jesus died on the cross and the veil was rent, and the cube collapsing, the cornerstone collapsing behind the veil. Now G is the 7th letter of the alphabet. So that is exactly what that's representing there, including the generative principle. But you see how when these pillars come down, collapsing the cube, the cornerstone, G equals 7, building 7, and then rebuilding into a new tower, which would be the transfigured third temple, but of the material world. Because when Jesus Christ defeated the curse, ripped the veil in, and defeated death and sin, which is, we'll go into in another video how we see the truth of the gospel through this. He rose again in the true third temple. Jesus Christ is the temple of the living God. He rose again out of the curse of sin and death. The grave could not hold him, and he rose again and became our true third temple. And when we're in the body of Christ, we are safe in our Father's hands. So that G, as we looked before, the Tesseract, the game cube, is to do with portal. Remember, ripping the fabric of time and space. And it's all represented, as I've shown before, here and here again, the two towers with that G in the center, bringing in Lucifer, opening the window. And 9/11 being a sacrifice into the wine press, level 7 in the womb, the wine press, and the blood of the innocent, as they always do in these satanic rituals, into the wine press. So essentially we're looking at this figure here, Samael, Samson, son of Samael, son of Satan, pushing down these two pillars. You see, this is the Freemasonic G, the square and the compass that he's standing in between and pushing down the two pillars. And of course building 7 was collapsed. So he was, you remember the story of Samson, when he pushed down the pillars, he was killed. So that would be the same kind of allegory there, the bringing down that and rising into a new tower, rising into a new transfigured tower. the One World Trade Center. And this is what it's all about, IXXI. IXXI is 9/11 in Roman numerals. And look what is in the center of IXXI. It's a hexagon, which is a three-dimensional cube. And that's what it was all about. It was a direct inversion of when Jesus Christ died on the cross and the veil was rent. This is exactly an inversion. See, that World Trade Center 7, the collapse, the smashing of the cornerstone, a direct inversion of Christ, this is what they're representing, you see. It's the same as the breaking of the egg, the split cracking open of the egg, and the rising of the son of Lucifer. You see what's in the center there. It's about portals, it's about opening the womb, it's dimensional, it's ripping the fabric of time and space, bringing down the two pillars of our society in many different ways. Remember, all of these have different layers of meaning, because the spiritual is incredibly deep, and it doesn't just kill one bird, it kills multiple birds with one stone, cracking open the egg, that cube. And this being XX, which is the seal of Saturn, and the compass draws the circle, and this is a square, that's time and space. This is all about bringing down the reality in which we live, essentially, and rebuilding into their new age of Horus Luciferian age that they're trying to desperately to bring in. Remember, 9/11 happened just after the millennium. It happened in 9/11/2001, just after the big hype about the millennium. You see the way that this works? You see the way that Satan is constantly copying, counterfeiting, and the way that Satan is constantly desperate. Well, this is what it's all about, because Jesus Christ, when he died on the cross, he cracked through time and space, because he died on the sword in the stone. He cracked through time and space. There was an earthquake, and people came out of their graves. And you see, when he died and rose again, it was a huge victory over Satan's kingdom, and as such, they are desperately trying to get out of what they are stuck in. They are stuck in the womb, in the matrix, and all of this is contributing over these years, over these end times, as things build up and build up. You see the society changing, doubly each year, doubly, triply, you know, just really changing. This is all a process this is all a process of the beast coming upon the earth. This is all a process of the matrix coming upon the earth, and heading towards the time that the Bible says that the world will start to wander after the beast. So that is exactly it right there, all contained in there. Just like this Dali painting, the rising of the sun, the cracking open of the egg, the heart of the earth, the yolk, the egg, the heart of the earth, the cracking open. We're going to go more into how Jesus defeated Satan's kingdom in the future. And that obviously all involves the heart of the earth, as Jonah was in the belly of the great fish. The Antichrist, the false Christ, comes from the heart of the earth. And it's all about this, guys. It's all about this 9/11 IXXI, the generative principle, as above, so below. Alchemy, fire and water, the perfect storm, hot meets cold. All the same representations. 7, level 7, the womb. The tombstone is the womb stone, the two pillars, the two towers, with the third building in the centre, bringing it down. And speaking of cracking through time and space, you see how between the two pillars here, portal, black sun portal, between the two towers, cracking through time and space. And that is exactly it right there. And you see how this is a complete inversion of Christ, of Jesus Christ. This is Antichrist. This was an Antichrist ritual. A complete inversion. Because right there you've got the Isis figure, the false light, and the two pillars through the twin towers, and with the building 7, so you get them pillars, you get those pillars coming down, you got the figure in the centre of it, bringing these down and collapsing building 7, which would be the cornerstone, the cube. Just like we said about the cube fell open behind the veil in Herod's temple. The cube fell open when Jesus was crucified and the veil broke. Well, it's the same thing. It's the exact same thing. Except this time, this is coming from within the womb. This is coming the other way. This is coming out. Everything of Christ is inverted with the Antichrist. So this is what you get. The two towers, the twin towers, the veil, and you'd get this Isis figure on the cube there, see, on the cornerstone, coming through the veil from the other way. And it's about breaking it out of the womb. It's about breaking the fallen out. All of this coming through the veil. Samsung G. Samsung, son of Sam. Samael. Samael. Another name for Satan. Samael, son of Sam. So Samsung, break this word up. Sam, Sun, G. Between those pillars, like Samson. Samson, son of Sam. Samson, G. The G between the two pillars in Freemasonry, within the IXXI, pushing down the two pillars, the son of Sam, pyramid there in the logo for Samsung. And it comes from the womb of Saturn. If you don't believe me, if you think that's absolutely ludicrous, well, just keep looking at the evidence which is all around us. Look at this album cover just for one example. Dizzy Wright, look at this. You see there how round the edges it's got the vinyl. Well, the vinyl round the edges stands for the rings of Saturn. So you can see on this album cover called the Golden Age, which is, many will know what that is, the Golden Age of Saturn, the return to Eden. So you've got the rings of Saturn round the outside. You've got this lady, this woman in the centre. It's about Cain's house, you know. Coming through that door, she's pregnant. She's pregnant, so this is coming out of the womb. So there you've got right there, this is coming out the womb, which is in Saturn. You've got the mother there with a pregnant belly. The Golden Age, the whole thing is transfigured to gold. So it's the transfigured ox, the transfigured, the belly of the beast. This is shown time and time again. Time and time again. And she's got like an ultrasound. The prince of the power of the airwaves. This is shown time and time again. Them breaking out of the womb, the age of Horus, the Antichrist, the transfigured Isis, the false Jesus, the counterfeit Messiah. Many shall come in my name, saying, I am the Messiah, and shall deceive many. They want to deceive even the very elect. So you understand that this figure, like the Samson type figure in that role, pushes down the two pillars at the expense of thousands of people, as blood sacrifice of the innocent, and then rebuilds into like the rise of the phoenix, like the new age of Lucifer. And that is exactly what's playing out, and that's exactly what they plan, what the elite plan, what the fallen plan. And that is a direct inversion of what happened with Jesus Christ, because he is the truth. And this is the only way for them to do it, because they have to do what they need to do. They're not playing about here. These are real rituals. These have to symbolically pertain to what it needs to for it to be effective and for it to work. They're not just doing it because they're evil. They're not just organising these mass human sacrifice things because they're evil. They're doing it because there's a very specific and targeted purpose. Even since the days of Aleister Crowley, they've been trying to do this. God bless you guys. And if I get called influenced by demonic spirits for revealing the truth, then persecute away, because I'm not going to stop spreading the truth. I'm not going to stop spreading the truth. I understand your psychological games. I understand those out there with psychological tactics that try and employ them to intimidate, to make you doubt what you're doing, to make you doubt your calling.
Not think an angel rides in the whirlwind and directs this storm. This work continues. The story goes on. And an angel still rides in the whirlwind and directs this storm. God bless you all. And God bless America.
Shame on you. Shame on you. Get ready to read all these words on this page without making a mistake. Look at the letter at the end and remember the sound it makes. Get ready. Yes, kite. Get ready to read this word the fast way. Get ready. Kid. Yes, kid. Sound it out. Get ready. Kid. Sound it out. Get ready. Kid. What word? Kid. Yes, kid. Boys and girls, sound this word out. Get ready. Seal. What word? Seal. Yes, steal. Read these words the fast way. Get ready. Play. Yes, play. Get ready. Must. Yes, must. Let's read these words the fast way without making a mistake. Get ready. Kite. Yes, kite. Get ready. Kick. Yes, kick. Get ready. Steal. Yes, steal. Get ready. Play. Yes, play. Get ready. Mud. Yes, mud. Lesson 60 on page 2050.
Will never see it coming. You think I'm joking?
a future that Ernest Cline, the writer of the book, envisioned. I was very careful with Ernie collaborating with me every step of the way to be able to find the movie narrative inside this dense forest of Ernie's profound imagination.
The Oasis being the ultimate toy box with all the toys in the world, and then playing that with one of the greatest filmmakers of all time. It results in just amazing action and such a fun adventure.
Ernest Cline is such a visionary, and I think has seen the future before any of us possibly could even imagine it.